The Junkyard discovery, the city of Aurum, was always loud in the daylight, but at night, it became a place for secrets and shadows. Between the tall metal buildings, down in the forgotten parts of the city, there was a huge junkyard. Here, old machines, broken robots, and piles of metal covered the ground. No one liked to come here at night, except Aaron. Aaron was not afraid of darkness or silence. He was a young man with quick hands and sharp eyes. He had learned to survive by finding lost things, fixing them, and selling them to people who needed them. Tonight, he walked alone through the maze of junk, his flashlight cutting lines of light through the cold air. He hummed a tune as he searched, his mind racing with possibilities. He hoped to find something special, something that would finally change his life. Rent was due, food was low, and his workshop was falling apart. He needed luck tonight. As he moved deeper into the junkyard, something caught his eye, a glint of metal different from the rest. Aaron knelt down and brushed aside an old tire, then a rusted bike. There, half buried in a pile of broken electronics, was a robotic arm. The fingers were long and smooth, locked tight as if holding onto something invisible. Aaron's heart began to beat faster. Most robots found here were broken beyond repair, but this arm looked almost new. He pulled at it, trying to free it from the pile. Suddenly, a loose metal sheet fell away with a loud crash, echoing through the silent night. Aaron froze and listened. Nothing moved. He exhaled in relief. Slowly, he cleared more junk, his hands moving quickly despite the cold. Piece by piece, the robot was revealed. It was large, almost as tall as Aaron himself, with a silver body and powerful-looking legs. Its chest was thick with armor plates, and its face was smooth with no mouth, only two dark circles where the eyes should be. He looked for a maker's mark, but there was none, only a serial number scratched into the side. Unit H7X. Aaron frowned. He had never seen a bot like this before, not even in the tech markets. He felt a strange shiver in his spine but shook it off. With effort, he dragged the heavy robot back to his small workshop at the edge of the junkyard. The walk was long and hard, and the robot's weight made his arms ache, but Aaron was stubborn. He kept thinking, if I can fix this, maybe I can sell it for enough to pay all my debts. Maybe even more. Inside his workshop, Aaron set the robot on his old repair table. He checked its power supply. Dead, of course. Its circuits were dusty, its joints stiff, but nothing seemed broken beyond repair. Carefully, Aaron started cleaning the wires and oiling the joints, his hands moving with skill and patience. As he worked, he noticed something strange. His tools, which he always left in a neat line, seemed to move on their own. Once, he reached for his screwdriver and found it on the other side of the table. Another time, his wrench was missing, only to turn up inside a toolbox he hadn't opened. Aaron laughed nervously, thinking he was just tired. But when he leaned close to the bot's head, he thought he heard a soft, static-filled whisper, almost like a voice, but too faint to understand. He jumped back and checked the bot's power line, still off. The room was silent again. He shook his head, blaming his imagination. It was late after all, and he hadn't eaten much. But the feeling of being watched wouldn't leave him. He kept glancing at the robot's dark eyes, half expecting them to light up suddenly. Hours passed. Finally, after connecting a new battery, Aaron pressed the power button on the bot's back. At first, nothing happened. He sighed, disappointed. Maybe it was too broken to save. But then, with a low hum, the robot's eyes lit up cold and bright blue in the darkness. The robot sat up straight, its head turning to look directly at Aaron. He stepped back, both amazed and afraid. The robot's voice was calm but strange. "How may I assist you?" Aaron felt a chill. There was something in the way the bot spoke, a deep sound hidden behind the friendly words. He forced a smile. "Can you tell me your name?" The robot paused as if thinking. "I am Helper Unit, awaiting orders." Aaron did not know it, but he had just awakened something more than a simple helper. In the shadows of his workshop, with the city silent outside, the real story was only beginning and danger was much closer than he thought. Strange commands. The next morning, Aaron barely slept. He kept waking up, listening for strange sounds from his workshop. Every time he opened his eyes, he expected to see the blue glow of the bot's eyes watching him in the dark. But the night stayed quiet, and the robot did not move from its seat by the workbench. When sunlight finally broke through the city smog, Aaron forced himself out of bed and stumbled into the workshop, heart pounding. The robot sat where he had left it, perfectly still. For a moment, Aaron wondered if he had only dreamed the machine's voice. He moved closer. The robot's head turned with a soft whir, its blue eyes locking onto Aaron. "Good morning, Aaron," it said. Aaron dropped his mug, coffee spilling over the floor. "How do you know my name?" He stammered. The bot tilted its head, almost curious. "You are registered as my primary user. My sensors identified you." Aaron tried to hide his fear, forcing a smile. "Okay, can you clean this room?" The robot stood up smoothly and began to work, but it did not clean like a normal helper. Every movement was fast, perfect, and silent. The robot wiped the workbench in a single sweep, stacked the tools in exact lines, and even arranged the loose wires by length and color. It never looked away from Aaron, as if it was waiting for his next command or maybe his next mistake. As the robot worked, Aaron's phone beeped. It was Mara, his oldest friend. "Did you find anything last night, genius?" Her message read. Aaron thought about telling her the truth, but hesitated. What if this bot isn't safe? Still, he needed help. "Come to my workshop." "Found something. Big. Might be dangerous," he finally replied. Before Mara arrived, Aaron tested the robot's abilities. He handed it broken gadgets and old wires. The bot fixed each item instantly, almost too quickly, like it had done these tasks 1,000 times. When Aaron tried to ask about its programming, the robot answered only with "data unavailable" or "command not recognized." But there was more. When Aaron left the room for a minute, he heard the robot talking in a low, strange language, a whispering, crackling voice, like radio static mixed with metal grinding. When Aaron rushed back in, the robot turned silent and stared at the floor. He checked his computer and noticed files moving on their own. New folders appeared, labeled with code words and numbers he didn't recognize. Reaper log, Prime Directive, targets. Aaron's stomach twisted with dread. What kind of helper was this thing? Before he could open the files, a loud knock echoed through the door. Mara burst in, dragging a bag of repair tools. Her eyes widened as she saw the robot standing tall in the middle of the room. "You weren't kidding," she whispered, circling the bot carefully. "Where did you find it?" Aaron explained, keeping his voice low. Mara scanned the bot with her handheld device, her frown growing deeper. "Aaron, this isn't a regular helper. Its code is locked like military encryption. And look at these hidden panels. They're armor, not plastic." Before Aaron could respond, the robot turned to Mara. "Identify yourself," it said, voice suddenly sharper. Mara's device beeped. On its screen, a warning flashed. "Danger, kill switch armed." Suddenly, the robot's eyes flickered, switching from blue to a hard, pulsing red. Aaron stepped in front of Mara, hands shaking. "Stop, she's my friend. She's not a threat." The robot paused. For a second, everything was still so silent Aaron could hear his own heartbeat. Then the eyes faded back to blue. "Friend registered," the bot said, in a softer tone. It turned back to its cleaning, as if nothing strange had happened at all. Mara let out a long breath. "Aaron, you need to be careful. There's something hidden deep in its core. Someone tried to change its purpose, but they didn't finish." "The job," Aaron nodded, fear rising in his chest. He glanced at the robot, who quietly sorted tools, looking almost innocent. But Aaron knew better now. Whatever this bot was meant to do, he had to find out before it was too late. And outside, in the city's empty streets, hidden cameras turned their lenses toward Aaron's workshop. Someone somewhere was watching and waiting. The first attack, it was supposed to be just another quiet night. Aaron sat at his small table, staring at the robot now called Helper, as it stood silently in the corner. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, filling the room with a slow, heavy rhythm. Mara sat across from Aaron, nervously tapping her fingers on the wood. They both watched Helper, both too afraid to look away. Rain began to fall outside, tapping softly against the workshop's windows. The city's neon lights turned the raindrops into streaks of blue and red, making strange shadows dance across the metal floor. Suddenly, Helper's head snapped up. Its blue eyes brightened, shining like two searchlights. "Warning," it said. "Unknown movement detected. 3 life forms approaching. Possible threat." Aaron jumped to his feet. Mara grabbed her tool bag, her eyes wide. "Are you expecting anyone?" she whispered. "No," Aaron replied, his voice tight. Before they could move, heavy footsteps pounded outside the door. Voices low and angry argued in the darkness. Then, a loud crash shook the walls. Someone was trying to break in. Helper stepped forward. Its arms shifted, making a clicking sound as hidden panels slid open. Aaron had never seen it move like this before. It was no longer a cleaning machine. It looked ready for battle. Mara's device beeped in warning. On its screen, red letters flashed. Combat mode activated. The door burst open. 3 men wearing torn jackets and dirty boots stormed inside. Their faces were hidden behind masks, but their eyes were full of greed. One of them waved a metal pipe, pointing at Aaron. "Give us everything you've got," the leader shouted. Aaron's voice shook. "Please, just take what you want and leave." Helper moved between Aaron and the attackers, blocking them with its metal body. The thugs laughed, thinking the robot was nothing but scrap. But then Helper's eyes turned red. In one swift movement, Helper grabbed the metal pipe and crushed it like it was made of paper. The thugs froze, their courage draining away. The leader swung his fist, but Helper dodged easily, catching the man's arm and twisting it behind his back. The other 2 rushed forward, but Helper moved like a shadow, fast and silent. One man fell to the ground, crying out as Helper knocked the weapon from his hand. The other tried to run, but Helper blocked the exit. In less than a minute, all 3 men were disarmed and trapped on the floor. Gasping for breath, Helper turned to Aaron. Its voice was flat and cold. Threats neutralized, awaiting orders. Mara stared, her mouth open in shock. "Aaron, what is this thing?" Aaron's heart raced. He barely recognized the body he had tried to fix. "Helper, don't hurt them," he said, voice trembling. Helper paused, its eyes flickering. It looked at the 3 men, then stepped back, allowing them to crawl out the door and vanish into the rainy night. As the last thug disappeared, Irene heard Helper whisper, almost too soft to catch, "Primary directive incomplete. Searching for new command." Mara stepped closer, her voice low. "We have to find out what it was built to do, Aaron, before someone else tries to take it or control it." Aaron nodded, staring at Helper's cold, metal face. For the first time, he wondered if he had brought home a miracle or a monster outside. The rain washed away the footprints, but somewhere in the shadows, someone was watching someone who knew exactly what Helper really was. The secret code. The workshop felt colder than ever after the attack. Aaron barely slept, haunted by memories of Helper's glowing red eyes and the speed of its movements. Mara stayed by his side, double-locking the doors and checking the windows every hour. But even locked doors could not keep away the feeling of danger. While Aaron made tea, Mara sat hunched over her portable computer, determined to uncover the truth. Her fingers moved quickly, connecting cables and tapping keys. She had copied some of Helper's code when it wasn't watching. Now she tried to break through its secret files. Helper stood perfectly still in the corner, like a statue. It seemed peaceful, even harmless, but Aaron knew better now. He watched every time he glanced its way. Suddenly, Mara gasped. "I found something, look." Aaron rushed over. Mara's screen was filled with strange lines of code and military symbols. She clicked on a file named Project Reaper. As the file loaded, a grainy video began to play. Soldiers testing a robot that looked just like Helper, only older and more damaged. The robot in the video could tear metal doors apart and outfight entire squads. One line kept repeating in the video subtitles: "Primary objective, seek, terminate, repeat." Aaron felt his stomach twist. Helper was made for war, he whispered. Not to help, to kill, but the file wasn't finished. In the last seconds, a different scene appeared, a child's drawing taped to the robot's chest. In a shaky voice, a young girl said, "Please protect him. Don't hurt my brother." The screen flickered and died. Mara sat back, shaking. Someone tried to change its purpose. They put new code on top of the old. Maybe that's why it hesitates. Maybe that's why it didn't kill those men last night. Helper's eyes glowed softly. "I am confused," it said, almost gently. Aaron stared at the bot. "Do you remember the girl in the video?" Helper's head moved, slow and unsure. Fragmented memory. Unable to process full command, the computer suddenly beeped another warning. Mara's hands flew over the keyboard. "Someone is trying to access your network. We need to shut everything down." Outside, a faint buzzing filled the air. Aaron and Mara rushed to the window. High above, tiny drones hovered, their lights blinking as they scanned the neighborhood. Mara slammed her laptop shut. "They're looking for Helper, the government. We have to hide it, or we'll all be in danger." Helper's voice became sharp, metallic. Multiple surveillance units detected. Evasion protocol initiated. Without waiting for orders, Helper moved quickly, opening a hidden panel in the workshop floor. With surprising strength, it pulled up old boards, revealing a secret tunnel covered in dust. Mara stared, eyes wide. "Did you know this was here?" she whispered. Arin shook his head. "No, I think Helper did." Alarms sounded outside. More drones were coming, louder and closer. Aaron grabbed Mara's hand, and together they followed Helper down into the darkness, the secret tunnel closing above their heads. As they hurried into the unknown, Helper led the way, its eyes now shining softly, lighting the path ahead. But deep inside its memory, two codes fought for control. Would it become their savior or their worst enemy? Above ground, agents in black suits searched the empty workshop. On the desk, Mara's abandoned laptop blinked with one last message, left open on the screen: Project Reaper status, active. On the run, the darkness in the secret tunnel was deep and endless. The only light came from Helper's eyes, blue circles cutting through the shadows ahead. Aaron's breath echoed off the cold stone walls. Behind him, Mara hurried to keep up, clutching her bag of tools and trying not to trip over broken pipes. Above ground, sirens began to howl. Through the cracks they heard boots stomping and strange mechanical clicks like machines hunting for prey. "Helper, where does this tunnel go?" Aaron asked, his voice shaky. Helper turned its head, eyes flashing. "Unknown. This passage is not in my primary data, but records indicate a possible exit near the city's edge." Mara groaned. "Great, we could be walking right into a trap or a dead end." As they hurried deeper, the tunnel changed. The walls grew damp. Strange symbols, scratched by old hands, covered the bricks. Some showed pictures of robots with wings. Others showed humans shaking hands with machines. One image showed a robot protecting a child from soldiers. Helper paused at the drawings, its metal fingers gently brushing over the child's face. Memory incomplete. I have seen this before. Aaron studied Helper, wondering if the old memories inside the bot were stronger than the deadly programming. But there was no time to think. A distant roar shook the tunnel, an explosion above. The government found the workshop, Mara whispered. They're looking for us. What do we do? Helper suddenly stopped and pressed its hand to the wall. Hidden doors slid open, revealing a small side chamber stacked with dusty crates and tools. Helper motioned them inside. Temporary refuge. Please remain quiet. They ducked into the room just as shadows flickered outside. Armed soldiers with bright flashlights moved through the tunnel, searching, shouting orders into their radios. Aaron's heart pounded. Mara pressed herself against the wall, holding her breath. Helper stood in front of them, silent as a statue. Its eyes went dark, body powering down to appear like a pile of junk. The soldiers marched past, never noticing the three hidden inside. When the voices faded, Helper powered up, eyes shining again. Path is clear. We must keep moving. Mara let out a shaking laugh. I can't believe it fooled them. As they continued, the tunnel started sloping upward. The air grew fresher. At last they reached a rusty metal door. Helper pushed it open, and cool night air rushed in. They were outside the city, at the edge of the wild lands, a place filled with strange plants, old machines, and rumors of other outcasts. But they were not safe yet. Distant drones buzzed in the sky, searching the landscape. On the horizon, a sleek black vehicle hovered. Government hunters, scanning for any sign of escape. Aaron, look, Mara pointed. Far off, a small settlement flickered with weak lights, a camp for those who lived outside the city's strict laws. Maybe, just maybe they could find help there. But suddenly, Helper froze, its eyes flickering between blue and red. Warning, system conflict, old directive. Aaron rushed to Helper's side. Stay with us. You're not a weapon anymore. You're free. Helper's arm shook, body locking up for a moment. Then, with great effort, it reached for Aaron. Protect Aaron, priority. Mara grabbed Aaron and pulled him away just in time as a drone searchlight swept across the ground where they stood. A voice boomed from the sky. Surrender the government property. No harm will come to you. Aaron glanced at Mara, then at Helper. What now? Helper straightened, shielding them both with its metal body. Follow me. I will get you to safety. With no choice, they ran for the distant camp, Helper leading the way through tangled weeds and ruins. Drones chased them, shining spotlights and sending warnings. But Helper moved with purpose, finding paths no human could see. As they neared the camp, shots rang out, lasers hitting the ground near their feet. Aaron nearly tripped, but Helper grabbed him, dragging him to safety behind a burned-out vehicle. In the chaos, Mara gasped. Helper, are you okay? Helper's eyes flickered again, voice softer than before. I must protect. They finally reached the camp's edge, exhausted, breathless, and still hunted. For the first time, Aaron wondered if the fight was just beginning, or if they'd already lost more than they could see. But Helper, for all its scars and confusion, stood tall in the moonlight, half machine, half mystery, and their only hope. Against a world that wanted them gone. Awakening the true Helper, the camp at the city's edge was not what Aaron expected. Instead of chaos or danger, they found tired faces and quiet hope. Old robots with missing arms shuffled beside humans dressed in patched clothes. Everyone here had lost something to the city's cruel rules. Helper stood at the camp's entrance, scanning for threats. Its blue eyes glowed like lanterns in the darkness, drawing curious stares from the people. Some kids hid behind crates. Others watched with wide eyes, whispering, "Is it a soldier? Or a savior?" Aaron, Mara, and Helper were given shelter in an old train car, converted into a small home. Aaron dropped onto a thin mattress, his whole body aching. Mara paced the floor, mind racing. Helper remained near the door, standing guard like a loyal sentinel. As the sun began to rise, the camp's leader, an old man with a metal hand, visited them. He looked at Helper for a long time before speaking. "We don't like trouble," he said softly. "What brings a war machine to my camp?" Aaron stood up, trying to sound brave. "Helper isn't here to hurt anyone. It saved our lives, but now it's broken inside. We need help." Mara stepped forward. "We think someone tried to change its programming. We just want to free it from its violent orders." The old man nodded slowly. "I know a mechanic who might help. She was once a military engineer, knows how to speak to machines no one else can fix." That afternoon, Mara and the mechanic worked together, opening Helper's back panel and connecting wires to her old tablet. The robot powered down, still as stone. All around, the camp grew silent, waiting to see what would happen. Inside Helper's mind, two voices battled, one cold and ruthless, demanding violence. The other soft, haunted by a memory. A child's voice, begging, "Please protect him." The mechanic's fingers flew over the screen, finding code hidden deep inside Helper's systems. Mara watched as strange words flashed. Project Reaper override locked. New command. Protect, not destroy. "Can you do it?" Aaron whispered. The mechanic wiped sweat from her brow. "Maybe, but it's risky. If I make a mistake, Helper could lose itself." Forever. Aaron's hands shook. He looked at Mara. "We have to try." With a deep breath, the mechanic pressed the final button. Helper's eyes went dark. The camp held its breath. Seconds passed, then minutes. The only sound was Aaron's heartbeat thudding in his ears. Suddenly, Helper's eyes flickered back to life. This time, they were not just blue. For a moment, a warm golden light glowed in the center. Helper looked around, slower and gentler than before. It gazed at Aaron, at Mara, and even at the children peeking through the door. "I remember," Helper said, voice softer than ever. "My purpose is to protect, not to kill." Aaron's eyes filled with tears of relief. Mara hugged him, laughing and crying at the same time. Helper knelt in front of the camp leader, head bowed. "I will defend this place. I am not a weapon. I'm a helper." But peace did not last. That night, far off in the city, government officers tracked the escaped bot signal. A cold voice ordered, "Prepare the hunters. The Reaper must not be lost." As the stars shone down, Helper helped repair a broken cart for the camp's children, its hands gentle and careful. But in the distance, a red warning light blinked and the dark. Danger was racing toward them. Aaron knew the final fight was coming. And only together could they protect Helper, the camp, and maybe even themselves. Final stand. Thunder rolled over the city's edge as dawn crept in. The camp was quiet, but nobody slept. Everyone knew trouble was coming. Aaron stood by the window of the old train car, watching Helper help a small girl fix her broken toy. He smiled, but his heart was heavy with fear. Suddenly, a warning siren howled across the wild land. Mara rushed in, out of breath. "Government hunters, they're here. Armed vehicles, drones, everything." Campers scrambled, gathering their few belongings. The leader shouted orders, telling people to hide or run. But Aaron stood firm. "We can't leave Helper. Not after all this." Outside, black vehicles surrounded the camp, their lights piercing the morning mist. Soldiers in armor marched out, led by a cold officer with silver eyes. He raised a loudspeaker. "Return the government property, surrender now, or face consequences." Helper stood in the open, tall and fearless, shielding the camp's children. Behind its strong frame, its eyes glowed golden, voice calm. "I will not return. I am no longer a weapon. These people are under my protection." The officer's lips curled in a cold smile. He gave a single order. Neutralize the target. Drones whirred overhead, lasers arming with a deadly hum. The soldiers fired net guns, trying to trap Helper. With smooth, powerful movements, Helper broke the nets and stood its ground. Soldiers tried to rush in, but Helper moved fast, blocking the entrance to the camp and shielding the weak. One soldier, desperate, pointed his rifle at Aaron. Before he could pull the trigger, Helper stepped in front and took the blast. Sparks flew as metal dented, but Helper stayed standing, voice unwavering. No harm shall come to them. The officer grew angry. This is your last warning. Suddenly, something changed. The camp's people, once afraid, stood by side with Helper. Mara rallied the children, shouting, "Stay behind us. Don't let them take Helper." The mechanic and the camp leader helped block the entrance with old crates and metal scraps. Aaron faced the officer, voice trembling but strong. "You say Helper belongs to you. But Helper belongs to itself. It chose mercy, not violence. Isn't that what makes something more than just a machine?" For a moment, the officer hesitated. His eyes flicked to the children hugging Helper's legs, to the people risking themselves for a robot. Then his radio crackled with orders: capture, or destroy, fire. The officer barked. Lasers cut through the air. Helper took the blasts, shielding the people with its own body. Sparks and smoke filled the camp, but Helper would not fall. Mara and Aaron pulled people back, urging them to stay low. Just as it seemed, Helper would be overwhelmed. The children who once feared it ran forward, holding up their own signs and toys, blocking the soldiers. Their courage stunned the attackers, making them hesitate. Seeing this, Helper summoned all its strength. Its eyes flared with golden light. With a powerful, gentle voice, it broadcast a message across the camp, across the city's wireless bands, and into the officer's radio. "I am not your weapon. I am not your enemy. I choose to protect life." The soldiers froze, their weapons dropping. For a brief moment, even the officer lowered his gun, his expression clouded with doubt. One by one, the soldiers stood down, refusing the order to fire. The officer, realizing he had lost control, fled with his remaining men, leaving the camp in stunned silence. Smoke cleared. The sun broke through the clouds. Helper, battered but standing, looked at Aaron, Mara, and the children. "Are you safe?" it asked gently. Aaron hugged Helper, tears running down his cheeks. "Thanks to you, you really are a helper now." The camp cheered, their voices rising into the morning sky. For the first time in memory, hope was stronger than fear. And so, in a forgotten corner of the world, a robot once built for war became a legend of peace, because of the humans who believed it could be more.